Right now, close your eyes for 1 second and try to remember what you had for breakfast yesterday. Not today, yesterday. If that took you more than a second or two, don't worry. That's not what this video is about. Because the truth is, a standard blood test cannot tell you how your brain is actually functioning right now. Your blood work can flag your cholesterol, your blood sugar, your thyroid. It cannot tell you whether your memory, your attention, and your processing speed are working the way they should. For that, doctors don't reach for a blood test at all. They reach for something almost nobody outside of medicine has ever heard of. A short, structured set of tasks that takes about 10 minutes and is still, today, the fastest and most reliable way to catch early changes in brain function. I'm going to walk you through a version of that test right now. Grab a pen and paper if you have one nearby. It makes this more accurate, but you can also just follow along mentally. By the end, you'll understand exactly what your doctor is actually listening for in a memory conversation and what to do with what you find. One honest thing before we start, because I'd rather you trust everything else I say. This is not a diagnosis. It's not even close to one. What you're about to do is a simplified version of a screening tool, the kind of first-pass check a doctor uses to decide whether a deeper evaluation is worth pursuing. A single result, one time, tells you very little. A pattern, over time, tells you a lot. Keep that in mind the whole way through. Let's start with why blood tests fall short here in the first place. Your brain runs on electrical and chemical signaling between roughly 86 billion neurons. Cognitive function, memory, attention, language, planning, emerges from the pattern of that signaling, not from any single molecule circulating in your bloodstream. There is ongoing research into blood-based biomarkers for conditions like Alzheimer's disease, and it's genuinely promising. But none of it is part of a routine checkup today, and none of it replaces actually testing the function itself. So doctors test the function directly, using tasks that map onto specific, well-understood brain networks. That's exactly what we're about to do. The first part is a memory task, and it starts with 3 words. I want you to say these 3 words out loud, right now. Apple, table, penny. Say them again. Apple, table, penny. Hold on to them. You'll need them again in about 90 seconds, and I'm not going to remind you. While you're holding those words, we move to the second part, a drawing task. On your paper, draw a large circle. That's your clock face. Now place the numbers 1 through 12 inside it, exactly where they'd appear on a real clock. Once you've done that, draw the hands to show the time 10 past 11. This sounds simple. It isn't. This single task, called the clock drawing test, is one of the most studied cognitive screening tools in medicine, precisely because drawing an accurate clock requires several brain functions working together at once: visual spatial planning to space the numbers correctly, executive function to translate 10 past 11 into the right-hand positions, and working memory to hold the instruction in mind while your hand is busy with the drawing itself. A clock that looks a little rushed or uneven is completely normal. Nobody's art skills are being judged here. What actually matters are specific patterns, numbers crowded onto one side, hands pointing to the wrong time despite correctly placed numbers, or numbers repeated or skipped. Those particular patterns are what a doctor is trained to notice, not perfect symmetry. Now, without looking back at anything, say the 3 words from a minute ago out loud. However that went, here's the useful context. Getting all 3 immediately is a good sign, but it's genuinely common to blank on one, especially the first time you try this, since you weren't expecting to be tested, and your attention was split with the clock drawing in between. What matters far more than today's result is what happens if you repeat this same task. Same 3 words is fine, or pick 3 new ones, a month from now, and again a few months after that. A consistent pattern of struggling with the recall step specifically, especially if people close to you have independently mentioned noticing memory changes, is the combination worth bringing to a doctor. One blank moment is not. Let's add a third piece, because real cognitive screening rarely stops at memory and drawing. It also checks how quickly and fluently your brain can search itself for information. Set a timer for 60 seconds and name as many different animals as you can out loud, one after another. Go. This task is called a verbal fluency test, and it's measuring something specific: how efficiently your brain can search a stored category and pull items out in a burst, under mild time pressure. Most healthy adults land somewhere between 15 and 20 animals in 60 seconds, though this varies with age, education, and honestly, how much pressure you feel in the moment. This isn't a rigid cutoff, it's a rough reference point. What's more informative than the number itself is the pattern of your search. Did you move through categories, jungle animals, then farm animals, then pets? Or did you stall completely after 10 seconds with nothing left to say? Long, sudden stalls are the detail that's actually worth noting, more than the total count. Here's the piece almost nobody explains clearly. None of these three tasks, the recall, the clock, the fluency test, means anything meaningful in isolation, on one occasion, taken out of context. Everyone has an off day. Sleep loss alone can measurably impact every one of these tasks, and so can stress, a new medication, low blood sugar in the moment, or simply feeling rushed and self-conscious being tested by a video. That's exactly why doctors don't diagnose anything off a single instance of this. What actually matters clinically is change over time, compared against your own baseline. The same principle as the fingernail signs we covered on this channel before. A single test tells you almost nothing. A repeated test done every few months tells you whether something is shifting. So here's what to actually do with this. First, if today felt easy across all three tasks, that's a genuinely reassuring data point. File it away and consider repeating this same set of tasks again in 3 to 6 months as a simple baseline check, the same way you might track your blood pressure at home. Second, if one part felt harder than expected, don't treat that as an answer. Treat it as a reason to repeat the test under normal conditions, well-rested, unhurried, no time pressure, before drawing any conclusion at all. And third, if you've noticed a consistent pattern over months, not just today, or if someone who knows you well has independently raised a concern, that combination is exactly what a formal cognitive evaluation exists for. Ask your doctor specifically about a validated screening tool called the MOCA, the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. It takes about 10 minutes in an office setting and is far more sensitive than what we just did here. That's the sentence that gets you a real evaluation instead of a rushed, "Let's keep an eye on it." I want to leave you with the actual point of this video, because it's easy to miss underneath the tasks themselves. Your brain's function is not something a blood test measures, and it's not something that shows up on a routine physical unless you specifically ask for it to be checked. It's something you can measure directly, in about 10 minutes, using tools doctors have trusted for decades. Most people never do this until something has already changed enough to be worrying. You just did it before that point, which is exactly when it's most useful. Try this again in 3 months. Use the same 3 words if you want a clean comparison, or pick new ones. It works either way. What matters isn't beating today's version of yourself. It's noticing, honestly, if anything shifts. If this was useful, subscribe. This channel exists to hand you the tools doctors already trust, explained the way nobody has time to explain them in a 12-minute visit. And tell me in the comments, which part was hardest for you? The recall, the clock, or the animals? I read every one. Next time on Case Zero, 9 things your fingernails reveal about your nervous system. If you haven't seen that one yet, it's right where this one leaves off. I'll see you there.